Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the celebration of life for our dear friend, John McDines. John lived a good life. He did. And before the party gets started, I have to do this for him. This Metrodome he loved. He wanted the beat to be up.
No.
Wynn hates this thing, but that's okay. This is something that John did at parties to get the beat going on his guitar, to know it. Wynn hated it. We all looked at him a few times, saying he was crazy, but that's okay. His spirit still lives on with this. This is strange. Wynn couldn't find this. About 10:30 this morning, she calls me and she says, guess what I found? So he was with us today to make sure she had this to bring today for me.
Yes.
Because when I talked to her about it, she thought it was an awesome idea to get the beat going. John always wanted to keep things going lively, have fun. I met John actually through Dar and Mike, our friends, actually knew John and Wynn. So that's how I got to know them. And when they moved to North Bay 2 years ago, roughly now, they were around town. We had a few little parties in the backyard and had a good time. So that's the one thing we need to remember today. Always be positive. Always, yes, we're sad. We're gonna cry, maybe not today, tomorrow, the next day. But it's always important to remember the good times you had with John. He always made everybody feel like they were part of the family. After a few parties, they nicknamed us the Mick Blackalls. Okay? So everybody today, whatever your last name is, you're gonna put Mick in front of it and then your last name, okay? John would be happy about that. So we're gonna open it up the floor. Anybody would like to speak for a short bit or say something out of their heart, you're more than welcome to come up and do that. Mike, you want to lead us off or with somebody else? Okay, I know Mike had something to say, but I'm sure we'll hear a song maybe, I'm sure, but we'll go from there, okay? No, not yet. You're welcome, buddy.
I made a few notes. I didn't include anything about this, though I did threaten to drive over this with my car several times. This was more annoying than anything I ever saw. And those of us that got to play and listen to music with John McDines knew that that thing was ruining everything. So we won't, but we'll keep it today. But I can't guarantee it's going to get out of here alive.
I'll make sure.
Anyway, I met John in 1984 in a little bar called Diggers. And I just went in there to have a beer. I didn't know anybody. I was kind of new in town. And Jay was sitting at the bar playing dominoes with the bartender. And I sat down, and gave me a pint. He was a friendly guy. He goes, mate, what's your name? I said, I'm Mike Preer. He goes, oh, I'm John McDines. Nice to meet you. He says, do you want to get in on our game of dominoes here? And I said, I don't know. I've never played dominoes. Well, that's no problem, he says. It's $2 a lesson. I'm pretty sure you won't win any for a while, but you're welcome to join us. And so I did play some dominoes that night. I learned how to play it, and back in those days, it was a long time ago, we had $2 bills, not $2 coins, and they were fuchsia colored, and I always remember going, oh, beautiful Mr. Preer, crossed my palm with fuchsia. That was like his favorite saying, and then they took this away, and then it just was a loony, and well, he stopped saying it, but I always missed that one. Yeah, but we did have fun, and we played that night. Anyway, I remember I said, okay, we're leaving the pub. I said, okay, he just lives up the street, and I'm just around the corner. I said, I'll give you a ride home. Okay, we get in the car. We've just met like a couple of hours. He says, Mike, do you play guitar? And I said, well, I know a couple of chords. And he goes, well, you don't know how to play a guitar then, but you're welcome to come up if you want. And I said, I don't think so, John. I'll just go home. It's late now. And so off we went. He went home. I went home. And then a beer strike happened in Ontario. So you couldn't get any beer. So we didn't go to the bar because there was no beer there. And we kind of lost track of each other. And it was like a couple of years later, I was sitting in this bar. And the doorway was over there, you know, and it was backlit. And I see John McDines standing there. It's after work, you know, we've stopped for a beer on the way home. It happened to be a strip club, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so I flagged him, you know, I waited till I said, oh, he recognized me. And we were like kindred spirits from that very day on, because we were never, ever separated again. Even when he returned to live in Scotland, we stayed in touch, you know. And so we had a few pints and looked at a few naked ladies and said, well, I said to him, look, on this weekend or whatever it was, why don't you come over to my house for dinner, bring your guitar? Okay. So he does. And we had some dinner and that was nice and some drinks, and then he gets his guitar. Oh, this is just great. I'm loving it, you know. And he said, well, do you fancy learning how to play, Mike? He says, I'll learn you. I said, yeah, okay. So we got really drunk the next day and I went and got me a guitar. I still have that very guitar. That's the one I learned to play on. I've retired it since, because him and I wore that thing right out. Because, you know, I think it's safe to say that I was, in Canada, John's, you know, closest and best guitar playing buddy. I was such a big part of him and me. And we were together all the time. So we went and got me a guitar, and that's when it began, because we played. He insisted on me learning. He was very strict. Timing was the big thing, but we didn't have one of these. So he just had his left foot. And boy, that could keep time. That could keep time in another time zone. But so I eventually came along and learned how to play a bit. And I think we played every day for several years. Like, we barely missed a day. We played all the time. It was just fantastic. And we played every day for years. I can speak for both of us. I mean, there's no one, except for maybe the man on the right there, that he wanted to play guitar with more than me. And me, there's no one I wanted to play guitar with more than John McDines. It was truly a great thing that we had musically. We just loved to play guitar together. So one day, when I was still new, I said, geez, you got this cottage up north. Would you like to go and see this? You know, he goes, oh yeah, let's go up there and we'll play guitar. And we got there, and he goes, well, this is really nice, but it was night. You couldn't see nothing. We're just in the cottage. We started playing guitar. We played our guitar all the way through the night. And in the morning, the sun come up. Well, then you're at beautiful Lake Reston. And he's going, let's go outside. So we went down in the front yard, and we played guitar all day long there. And that's the day that John McDines fell in love with Lake Reston. Because we stood right at the shore, and we played guitar nonstop for 12 hours. You know, we just never even stopped. It was fantastic. And that was the day he fell in love with Resto, and everybody knows how much he loved it there. That place could control him. He loved it, and that was fantastic. And we were lucky to get up there many times, 100 times probably we got there, and just play guitar and enjoy ourselves. But a couple of firsts occurred, and one stands out I was thinking about. Because we went there in the winter. He'd never seen much of a frozen lake before or anything. I guess never been out of the cities really. And he said, oh, that's magnificent. I go, oh yeah, that's really something. I mean, you could go for miles. And I said, well, my brother-in-law Robbie's going to come down the hill shortly with a big pot of chili and a snowmobile, and that's what we're going to eat all weekend. And, you know, so when he gets here, just hop on, he'll take you for a ride. He said, isn't too much longer. Down comes Robbie on a snowmobile. John's really never even been near one of these beasts up close before. And he hands me the pot of chili. I said, John, hop on the back of that thing. And he goes, are you certain, Mr. Pierre? Oh, absolutely. Don't worry about a thing. And so there he is. He's only seen a frozen lake for maybe 10 minutes in his life. Now he's on the back of a snowmobile going down towards it at 50 miles an hour, out across the lake. I think Johnny was a little panicked, although he didn't soil himself. At least he said he did. Smelled a little off, but I said to him, there you go. He come back and he said, oh, that's really fantastic. I mean, I think it's safe out there. I said, yes, it is, John. It's very safe out there. We've got access to this ice fishing hut, and we're going to go ice fishing tomorrow down there. So we'll ride down on the snow. It's perfectly safe. John was suffering through a thing he called Lent. You're probably all familiar with this. I am not. I don't suffer from Lent. But he was not drinking this weekend when all this was occurring, and that was fine. That was fine. So we get down to this ice hut, and he says, now what, Mr. Bear? I said, well, we've got to cut a hole in the ice to drop our hooks and our bait through to go fishing. How do we do that? So I handed him this about 6-foot big steel bar. I had a 2-inch chisel welded onto it and a rope on it. I said, wrap that rope and tie it on your wrist. Why is that? I said, so you don't drop it in the hole. Well, there's no hole. I said, well, start chopping and make a hole. And he's at it about 45 minutes. And he is sweating. He's dying. I mean, it's wintertime. Right? He sits down. He's taking a break. I'm just laughing like, yeah, I've done that. I know what's going through your mind. So anyway, he gets back at it, and he finally gets through, and he opens up the hole a bit. And he goes, that's some ice, eh, Mr. Career? I reckon it's pretty safe out here. I said, you could drive a tank out here or land a jumbo jet. There's like 3 feet of solid blue ice, and not even any slush anything. And I always got a kick. I always remember that. He was like, I reckon it's safe out here, eh? Oh yeah, 3 feet ice, Johnny. We were fine. I always remember that. That was one of our weird trips to the cottage, and that was fun when we did that. And then we just kept doing our thing and playing, and then Amy was born. You probably know her. I met her when she was a wee lass. And then so the family went back to live in Scotland. But like I say, we stayed in touch. And it was really a little bit devastating to me, because like, you know, hey, now I've learned how to play guitar, we're having all this fun, but the guy who's my guy is leaving me. Sort of what we're doing right now, I guess. But it even felt worse back then for some reason. But I kind of thought he might come back. I didn't know what to do about it, so I wrote a song about it. Maybe one day I'll play it again, I don't know. But, and then he came over to visit with his friend Ernie, the singer in that band. Don't think he's pictured there, but and that was about 90, 91 or something like that, around then, that he came over with Ernie for a visit. That was really nice, and the truth is we didn't know, like I talked to Ernie on the side. See, John had Canadian citizenship. He didn't have to get on a plane and leave. Ernie did. He had to go back to Scotland, but John could stay. And we didn't say anything, but it's like, when it's time for you to go back home, John, are you going to get on that plane? Because you're a Canadian citizen. You can just stay. Don't need any visas, passports. But he got back on the plane. He went back, and glad he did win, and you must be too.
Yep.
Because the next thing I get a phone call, Scotland here, someone I want you to talk to. Now I'm talking to McDines. And of course, I know what's going on behind the scenes. And that's all good. So then they're coming over for a visit. And then they visited. And that was really fantastic. You know, and then you guys got married and came back here to live. And then that was really cool. And we got back to having lots of fun in Brampton and in Restoule all the time. And more times you can remember. Because we all like the same thing. Just like that man right there. Let's get the guitars out. Let's play and sing and have a beverage. And when I first started learning how to play guitar, John had a saying. 21 and 1 was the saying. Because I'd say, you know, he'd be playing something. I go, how can you even do that? Looked like his octopus hands. You know, how do you even do that? He said, 21 and 1, Mr. you've been doing this for 1 year, I've been doing it for 21 years. So that's working out pretty good. And well, now the count is 59 and 39. We've been at it a little while. And I always think we're like Lennon and McCartney, except for two main differences. We never wrote a song together. Well, we played as much music as they ever did, but we never wrote a song together. The other big difference is, we're pretty near 40 years of playing music side by side. John McDines and I never had one sour word between us. Not once did we even get cross. And Lennon and McCartney can't say that. So, I guess that's all I've got to say about it. I sure am gonna miss my friend. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, there was a story. Mike has stories. First of all, I forgot to invite everybody on Facebook Live. North Bay welcomes you to the celebration of Life for John. We are taping this live over to people in Scotland and other places, so I welcome you all. I forgot to do that in my opening statement, so I want to recognize you people too, that you took time out. So, does anybody else have something to say? Oh, Poppy, come on up. I would like to remind everybody we do have beverages and food at the back. After a bit, if we want, you could stop and have something to eat and drink with us for the celebration of life. I want to also point out that John is here today with us in his beautiful urn that was picked out for him with his harmonica. So afterwards, if you want to come up, tap on the top, wish your goodbyes, you're more than welcome to do that, okay? Yes, okay. Come on up, Poppy.
Okay, Mark. Well, I lived in Restool for a number of years, and I had the pleasure of meeting several people that are here today. And of course, it was John and his wife, and the family also came over at one given time. And they used to say to me, what do you think of Mr. Scotty? I said, well, we never knew where he was going to go in the mornings. Sometimes he'd be at my place, which was next door. Sometimes he'd be over at the Graybills, which was 2 places away. But one morning he came over to my house, and I had 2 sons there, and their last name is Haggis. Well, he didn't believe me. He didn't believe them. So they had to go and get identification to prove to him, this fella, that their last name was Haggis. So anyway, we had a lot of fun on that lake, and then many times there wasn't the odd drink involved. Wynn came over one day, decides she wants to go in the water. That was not a good move. It took 3 of us to get her out again. However, you know, in all the good times, like Michael Prue said, there wasn't anything bad said amongst the group. And Michael Prue is now my son-in-law, and my daughter Darlene, and my wife Adrian. And we've all got along just fine. So I'm not going to dwell on this, but we've all had a good life, and we've made a lot of good friends. And if you can make even one friend in your life, try for 2.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul.
Anybody else? John, this is actually John's son, John McDines. I'm sure he's going to say something, or he may play something. He is an awesome guitarist. I do watch him live on his video chats all the way from England. Even though we're 5 hours.
Scotland.
Scotland, sorry, Scotland. Oh my God, I knew I would mix up one. And have a drink. No. He plays awesome music. I do listen to him. 5 hour time change is a little hard sometimes because sometimes it's midnight their time, or you know, the time difference is off, but we'll let him speak. Thank you.
I tried to memorise this, and I know he would kick my backside for no any song lyrics, but I'll do the best. So when I think of my dad, a few words spring to my mind: fun, temper, and music. It was a brilliant mix of all three, and he blended them together fantastically. My earliest memories of my dad are all fun. He took me and Amy and all our friends to the local ponds in Carmyle to catch tadpoles. He taught us how to build fires when he was locked out of the house. You can imagine how happy I was at that. And we had holidays down in Blackpool. It was also at a young age that I experienced this now infamous temper of his. Albeit he was still fun, and at times his temper was extremely funny. To us, no to him. It wasn't until I was a lot older that I truly appreciated the influence he had on me when it came to music. And I completely blame him for my addiction to and obsession with guitars. So I'm just going to share a couple of wee stories relative to these aspects: his personality and his character, fun, temper and music. So fun, the first thing that comes to mind is the Pleasure Beach at Blackpool. He did give me a love of rides and roller coasters and a bit of adrenaline junkie myself. In fact, one year I was just too short to get on the big one, as they called it, the Pepsi Max. I'd been excited for weeks on end, got there, and I was distraught. It built up to it, and I was too short. So my dad took me to the one next to it. It was called the Iron Brew Revolution. It went round the loop, and then went backwards. So he took me up to here, asked the man, can you just keep him on it just keep him on it, don't let the thing go up, strap him back in and just go, while he went on the Pepsi Max, just to rub it in. But I loved it. It was a total of 16 times in a row I was on that. Another fun memory was the swimming at Blackpool. It was called the Sandcastle. They had two of the fastest water slides, or flumes as we'd call them, in Europe at the time. And me and him went down them continuously for about an hour straight, time after time, up the stairs, down, up the stairs, back down. Loved it. He also then managed to get my sister Amy to join us after much encouragement, shall we say. There was a massive queue this time, and took us ages to get to the top, and when we got there, Amy changed her mind. My dad wasn't having any of that. He wasn't having her embarrass us for going back down that. So he managed to get her and coax her into just sitting at the edge. So I built up just to sit down before giving her a big massive shove. She screamed the whole way down. I've never heard anything like this. She got some really good air at the bottom. She lifted off and crashed into the pool like a sack of potatoes. It was chaos. She was in a blind panic. The lifeguard dived in to save her, brought her safely to the side of the pool. At that point I looked at my dad and he was peeing himself laughing. To this day, Amy's still terrified of water slides. We still found it hilarious. But anyways, moving on to his temper.
Okay, alright.
We were once in a walk-through ride in Blackpool. It was a haunted mansion thing. And at the end of it, you sat down at a big round table and it started to spin. Once it got up to speed, there was gargoyles and they opened their mouth and shot water. but they only seem to shoot water at him. So he was shouting and perhaps said a swear word or two. We were laughing our socks off. We got outside, 5 of us in total were bone dry. He was absolutely ringing. All that cold water clearly didn't cool his temper. But finally I'm going to speak a bit about music. The one thing that truly bonded us, and something that most would agree was what he was really known for, was his love of music. From a young age I can remember him playing what I called Summertime. It was called Wild Mountain Time, but I called it Summertime because that was the first lyric, the summertime was coming. It was my favourite song, and I used to ask him to sing it and play it for me all the time. I loved guitar and singing. However, I never really picked up the guitar until later in life. When I did, our relationship really started to deepen. And although we were far away from each other, we spoke almost every day. We shared new music with each other and guitar videos, and he gave me an awful lot of encouragement. He gave me the bug to gig. That was the first gig I ever done. I didn't have a choice. I said, I can only play like half of Wonderwall, and he's like, well, you better get learning them, and played at the break, and I caught the bug that day. That was at Foxley Bowling Club in 2016. It went very good. Both him and his friend, the legendary guitarist Arthur Reed, after that night took me under their wing. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be half the musician I am today. In fact, I probably wouldn't be one. But I'm happy that later in my life I got to play with him and work on projects with him and Arthur and share the love of music, something that will stay with me forever. I'd like to finish with a short poem, or I suppose lyrics you would have me call it, that I wrote the other day about him, and before saying my goodbye in the best way I can for him, that's playing a song I learned specifically for today. So this poem, it's a short one, but it's called A Bit of a Loon. What can I say about a man so loved? Crocs and shorts and a tammy and gloves. He gave his all to his family and friends. Most would describe him as a wee godsend. He loved his beer and he loved his bud. He gave me music that's in my blood. Now it's time to say see you soon to an absolute legend who was a bit of a loon. So I'm going to finish off with singing a song I learned specifically for him for here. I'll tell you the wee story when I get the guitar.
Well done, son.
I'm sure he won't mind me borrowing that.
I don't think so.
So this song is a Neil Young song. I'd never heard it before until I heard of his passing. And it came on straight after Old Man. It's a song that's very relevant to me and my dad. And I thought, I need to learn that. And hopefully I can remember the lyrics, and I know he'll be shouting at me if I don't. When the winter rains come pouring down on that new home of mine, will you think of me and wonder if I'm fine? Will your restless heart come back to me on a journey through the past? Will you think of me and wonder if I'm fine? going down on that new home night? Will I still be in your eyes and on your mind? Will I still be in your eyes and on your mind?
Now that's,
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? So I would like to remind you, you're more than welcome. We have one last person speak, but I'll let her come up in a minute, okay? You're more than welcome to come up, say goodbye to John. Sorry. The family will be taking him back to Scotland. Did I say right? Yes. To be buried. So please take your time. If you would like to stay, we're here till 4. So please come up and say your goodbyes. You're more than welcome. And the last person, Wynn, if you would like to come up, come in and have a seat, please. Over here, there's some seats. You can come in.